There we go. All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. SQL Dev DBA here, and today, surprisingly, we're doing some data analysis. It's been a while. Usually I'll have some tutorial about Power BI or some tutorial about SQL. I actually haven't done an English stream in quite a while either. I've been focusing a lot on streams in Spanish, which have been going quite well, but I thought I would do an English stream because it's a topic that is mainly focused on the US. It's a topic which I'm honestly not super familiar with. It's basketball, and really the last experience I have with basketball was playing like random pickup games. I tried out for the basketball team in middle school. Surprise, didn't make it. But I used to enjoy basketball a lot as a little kid, and I follow it every now and then, but I don't really focus on any games or seasons or anything. But one of the things that I try to really preach, I guess, or inform people of is the fact that data analysis and business intelligence, it really spans all industries. I've worked in many industries: the hotel industry, the parks industry, the theme park industry, the transportation industry, and now I work in the education industry. And really, I don't have a ton of domain knowledge about any one of those, or I didn't have any when I first started. However, you always partner with things like subject matter experts or other folks on your team who can help you understand the data that you're looking at a lot better. And then you can do your job sourcing the data for all the different departments. And so one of those industries is the sports industry. I happen to live in an area where there are a lot of sports companies. So Golf Channel is based where I live or close to where I live. And NBC Universal has a large presence here as well. ESPN is fairly close, but really it doesn't matter where they are. If your interest is sports, or you're interested in working for a sports company, you should be able to at least provide the data, and then you can have folks who are a lot better or a lot more knowledgeable about the subject help you out. And so if there's anyone out there that you see me working through this and you want to help me out with something, feel free. I can't promise that I'll understand everything that I'm looking at, but I will certainly do my best. Really, what I'm looking at is going to be pretty basic, but I'll show you some cool stuff that I found that we'll be able to do together. So before we jump in, I want to do a quick gear check. It's something new I'm trying out. I have a lot of different keyboards. I have a lot of different mice. And sometimes I'll get asked which one I'm using or what I prefer, especially when it comes to programming. Ever since I started programming, I've always tried to find the best peripherals to help me do my job better since I started. So I've done probably a pretty good job at doing that. I've certainly purchased lots of different things. And so everything I'm about to show you is fully purchased by me. There's no sponsorships or anything like that. Pay me money if you want me to do something to show off your product. But so far, that's not happened. All right, so here we go. Keychron K12 is the keyboard. This is a 60% keyboard, so it has no dedicated arrow keys. It has no dedicated number pad. They're actually right around here. If I hold the function key, I can access those, but I thought it'd be a lot more trouble than it is. I do have a very similar keyboard, which is actually I have 4 Keychron keyboards, but we'll get to those another time. This one I'm using, I just opened it yesterday. I just received it yesterday, and so far so good. I really like it. I like the feel. I like the feedback that I get. It's pretty cool. And then here we have the Dell MS900. This comes as part of like a suite of products called the MS and KB series, the Dell developer series, and it's supposed to be targeted at like developers and creators. And so MS900, I really like it as well. It's very smooth, very comfortable. Here I have a Delta Hub wrist pad. It glides very well on my mouse pad, which I really like as well. And I'm trying out new earbuds. I have this weird medical condition that doesn't let me wear like those earphones where you have to jam them in your ear. And so I've always tried different products that are comfortable for me. And so far, these are really good. HyperX Cloud earbuds too. I like them so much, I actually bought a second one, which I'll be doing a short unboxing video for. So yeah, big fans of these as well. Again, all purchased on my own. So I'm not pushing any products. I'm just demoing the ones I use. All right. So again, we are looking at data about Kobe Bryant. I went on Kaggle, which I always do. I always suggest folks go to Kaggle and just get brand new data sets. Data sets that they're not familiar with, data sets that they do enjoy and they might have a lot of knowledge on. Because one of the things I always get asked is, oh, can I get some fake data? Can I get some, data to work with? I can't work with company data, etc. So go to Kaggle. Download a data set about a topic you like. Download a data set about industry you're trying to get into. Download a data set that you're not familiar with at all. Do a challenge, just like I'm about to do right now. I'm talking a lot. I do that, don't I? It's a good thing you can like skip. If you're watching on YouTube, you can skip these. There's like channels down here. So use those. I'm gonna put all the different sections that I'm working on down here in the chapters. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, let's give it a shot. Here we go. We're on the Kaggle website. I'm going to go ahead and add this link to the chat. Basically, it's a Kaggle data set on Kobe Bryant shot selection. Basically, where he took his shots from, whether he made it, what game he was in, how many seconds were left. Lots of cool data around here. I was browsing around and I saw this data set. Huge thanks to Xavier. I believe he's from Spain. There's Xavier's page or profile on Kaggle. Very cool stuff that he's doing. And I'm looking forward to maybe looking at a couple other data sets that he has available for us. But today we're going to focus on this one. Kobe Bryant shot selection. And you can see that Xavier actually just wrote a whole summary of it. And basically it was basically a project for him. So it's very cool to see some of the analysis that he did. He worked with Python, he worked with the CSV file, and he even did some basic visualizations. So it's very cool, and I'm looking forward to showing you what I was able to do very, very quickly within PowerBI and show you how to do it as well. And maybe you can kind of take it from here. I'm just going to do the basics, how I got the shots to show. We're going to look at scatter plots. We're going to look at bar graphs just like this, and maybe a line graph or two that shows the progress over the game. So I really admire Kobe himself and the dedication to the game. So I want to pay a little bit of respect, at least to him and his career, because I find a lot of the data that he did create, but technically he did create it, is really interesting. So basically, to get started, what you're going to do is hop over to the link that I have, and you're going to go to the input section. Now, if you like Python and you like all sorts of API work, all that stuff, you're free to do it that way. You're free to download the data set from the API. But for me, it was a lot easier. Just download the CSV and then load it into Power BI that way. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the input section. You'll see a data.csv.zip. You're going to download that. And there we go. Now you have a zip file. I'm going to open the folder that it's in. And here, what you're going to do is you're going to extract it. You're going to right click, extract all. And you can rename the folder as you're extracting it. So I'm going to name this Kobe shot data. You can name it whatever you want. You can name it Kobe. And then I'm going to rename the file as well, because I want to make sure that I know which file I'm looking at. Data.csv is pretty general, right? So we want to make sure we can do that. So Kobe shot selection.csv. And if you've watched my videos in the past, you'll know that what I like to do is make a copy of the file that I'm looking at. That way I can leave the original undisturbed and actually open the copy of it with something like Excel, Notepad++, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it, and then I'll rename this copy something like Excel. That way I know I can touch it with Excel. I can mess around with it in Excel, and it's not going to change the original file. The original file is the one that I'm going to use for Power BI. I want to leave it undisturbed. I don't even want to open it if possible. So what we'll do is we'll right click on this file and we'll click open with. If you don't have Notepad++, you can feel free to use Excel. I like using Notepad++ because I like to see what I'm about to import into Power BI or SQL Server. And so here we have a CSV. We can see the columns across the top, the action type, combined shot type, game event. I'm not going to list them all. There are quite a few, which is really good for us because that means we get to explore data quite a bit. So I'll leave this one open. I'll minimize that, and then the one we're going to focus on within Power BI is this one. So let me show you a few of the visualizations that I already did, just so you can see exactly what we're working with and or what our goal is. And just know that I'm going to leave the data source itself, the PBIX file that we do together, any code that I have, I'll leave it in a Google Drive link. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll actually have somewhere around there, I imagine, you'll have a link that you can click on to go grab all of this data, all of the PBIX files, everything. So I challenge you to just do it yourself and follow along, but you can use mine as a guide in case you want to copy any of the DAX, something doesn't work out for you, that sort of thing. All right, so let's take a look at what our results are going to be. We're going to make a quick table just like this that shows all of the data that we really care about or we want to explore much. You're free to add all the columns you want. For me, I just add some of the columns. Then we have a raw data set, or a raw location of the shots. And as you can see, it makes sort of like an arc. And then there's a couple other ones. I'm assuming backcourt, half court shots, etc. So we'll have this, and then I'll show you some creative things that you can do with that. Things like shots by points. And you'll notice that there's now a half court. That doesn't come with the file, but it will come as an image with the data set from Bing, or Google Drive that I do. I don't know why I said Bing. You don't use Bing, right? I use it. I don't know why. I like Bing. Except for images. Bing's terrible with images. Carrying on, you can see that there's an arc right here where it goes from blue to purple, right? That's 2 pointers to 3 pointers, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Then we have shots made, which is basically green for made it, red for missed it, and then there's like very light colored X's where apparently it's just unknown. There's not enough data to tell. Then we have shots by type, which are, if you look, the gray, that's kind of not really background, but the most of the dots that you see are gray. Those are jump shots. Then we have deep purple, which are layups. Dunks are dark blue, which you can see are closer to the basket. We have in orange hook shots, etc. So I'll show you how to create these visuals. And again, it's just going to be the basic stuff. If we have some time, maybe we'll do some visuals, like some additional visual enhancements. But I just want to show you the basics so that you can kind of take it from here. Probably not going to do much background stuff. Probably not going to do much text and titles and stuff like that. I'll try to leave it as basic as possible. All right, so let's get started right from the beginning. What I'm going to do is open up a brand new Power BI instance. And today I'm on my sim racing computer. So everything should be pretty quick. You won't have to wait around for me to load stuff, which is great. It means I talk less, or I babble less too, which is good, right? Less babbling, more analyzing. All right, so we're going to click blank report here to open up a brand new report, and you'll be greeted with just a Power BI principal page. Now what we're going to do is add some data. Remember, we have our file in our downloads folder. You're welcome to put this anywhere you want. I'm just going to leave it here because I already have a copy of it in like my actual structured ones. All right, so we're going to click get data, and then we're going to click text and CSV. So once I do that, I'm gonna go to my downloads, and I'm gonna look at my Kobe shot selection file. Again, we're not gonna use the Excel version, right? That one's the one we wanna leave alone. Or sorry, that's the one we left alone is this one. The Excel one's the one that we can butcher and mess up and all sorts of stuff, and we really don't want to use that for importing. We're gonna stick with our original file. You can name it something like import or Power BI or whatever you want, really, to know which is which. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open it. And here we are. Now we have all of our data. Now, one of the first things that Power BI asks you to do is, hey, do you want to just go ahead and load this? Do you want to transform it? Here's a preview of your data. What do you want to do? And it asks you what your delimiter is. As you can see, it auto-detected the fact that we have a comma delimited CSV file, which is good, comma CSV, comma separated file. Or, I don't know what does the V stand for? I don't really care. Man, I've been using CSVs for a really long time, and now comma separated values. Oh man, I promise I know what I'm doing. All right, so our delimiter, usually when you have commas in the data itself, you'll end up with a different delimiter, like a pipe or semicolon, spaces, tabs, sometimes fixed with stuff like that. For us, it detected that the comma is what we need. And data type detection. Now, this is the important one here. I've been dealing a lot doing these videos with data type detection, getting it wrong. And it's not really data type detection's fault. It's the fact that I've been selecting first 200 rows a lot. When you select first 200 rows, all it does is scan the first 200 rows of the document, as it implies. And it uses that data to say, okay, should this be an integer? Should this be a whole number? Should this be a decimal? Should this be a text? Should it be a date, etc.? And what I found is that for files that are really, really big, sometimes they just don't have any data in the first 200 rows of a specific column. So it just blows it out and says, oh, text. And really, that's not necessary. So what I like to do is say, based on entire data set. Now, it'll take longer for it to detect the data types, but that's okay. It's less errors that I get in the end. So I'm okay with that. So you can feel free to transform the data if you want to do that. I always transform after. I just want the data to load. So I'm going to go ahead and load it. And hopefully we don't get any errors. Let's see what happens. All right, 30,000 records. I don't know if you saw that, but 30,000 records added. That's pretty great. It means we have a lot of data to play with. All right, so you will see the data right up there in the data section. If you don't have this, you might have like a pane off to the right, like this, or you might have some icons. I don't like those icons. I'm trying to get used to them, but I don't like them. So I just have this. So here we have our Kobe shot selection data set, and we have lots of data points with it as well. So the first thing we're going to do is, again, that grid, right? We want to make sure that we have our grid so that we know what Power BI is looking at before we put it into visuals. So I'm going to rename this page data grid. There we go. And just to rename it, all you have to do is double click it. And first thing I'm going to do is add a table. So I'm going to go to my visualization section, and I'm going to add a table right here. I'm just going to make this table quite a bit bigger. I'm going to close this filters pane because we don't really need that. I don't use it very much, only sometimes. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a bunch of columns. Now there's several ways to add columns. If you're new to this, basically you can drag the columns into the visual itself. So I want to add game ID. So I just added it. Or you can also, I'm going to add the game date, and you can also just drag it right here into the column section. This is really handy because you can add things before or after other columns that way. And then the third way, I'm sure there's a few more, but the third way is to, let's see if I can find a column that I want to add. Team name. How about team name, right? You just check it. So if you check it right there, you can add it. Now, you can see that some of game ID was added, and I really want one record per game. I don't want one record, or sorry, I actually want one record per shot. So we'll get into that in a second. But you can see here that it just summarized it for us. I don't want to do that. I want to right click and say don't summarize. And then for game date, it's sort of started dividing it into year, quarter, month, and day. I don't want that either. What I'm going to do is right click on game date, and I'm just going to switch it from date hierarchy to game date. And we can see that the date comes up now. Now, I don't really care to know what day of the week it was, nor do I care to have it be the full month name or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to game date here on the far right. I'm going to click on that. And then up here, we can see that there's formats. I'm just going to switch this to short date. 95 to 99% of the data that I work with, I just have a date. I don't have the time. I don't care what day of the week it was. Sometimes you might, right? You might want to analyze whether Kobe did better on Tuesdays, on Fridays, on Sundays. I don't know. That's cool. You're more than welcome to do that. We're not going to do that here. But if you wanted to, you could see what day of the week it was and see how it affected his scores. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool analysis. All right, so we have our game ID, we have a game date, and we have our team name. Obviously, he's with the Lakers, so you're not going to really see much here. I'd be interested to see maybe he has like a Team USA. Because I'm pretty sure Kobe was in the Olympics. So maybe there's a Team USA here, or if they did conference games, that sort of thing. That'd be pretty cool to see. But I think we're okay. So what else do we want to add? We want to add our shot ID. Let's add our shot ID. And again, it adds it as a sum. We do not want that. We want to not summarize. So shot ID, you can see here how it is now ordering by the shot ID, and that is a good thing. We want to analyze each shot individually for all of our analysis here. So we're going to add a couple other things like the opponent. There's Portland. I think there's like a game event. Nah, we don't really need that. I could have sworn it was like a matchup. There we go. Lakers at Portland. Lakers at, I guess, Jazz. Vancouver, Clippers, Houston. That's pretty cool to know. Just to know who the opponent was, and a description. So if you want to put that in your graphics or in your descriptions, that's absolutely fine. Okay, now to the meat and potatoes of what we're analyzing, right? We have the latitude, location X, location Y, and longitude. I'm going to use the location X and location Y. And again, it tries to sum them. I'm going to click don't summarize. If you find that annoying, you can always go to the field itself, and where you see summarization up at the top, you can just say don't summarize. And now anytime you add it to a visual, it will not attempt to summarize it for you. That is something you can control. I just find it pretty easy to just right click and say don't summarize, so I don't bother. All right, what else do we have? Season. We want to add a season maybe. That's pretty cool. That's already non-summarized, so we're good there. And let's see, do the seasons go from year to year? That'd be an interesting thing to see. Here's November, December, let's see, and January. Okay, here we go. So if you want to get familiar with things like fiscal years for companies that you might work with, like let's say if company's fiscal year is July to June, and you want to work with basketball data, this is a good way to get used to fiscal years. So see how the season goes from 2000 to 2000. It stays with 2000, even though we went from 2000 to 2001. This is a really good example of fiscal years, where the fiscal year stays the same, but the actual calendar year is different. So if you want to do some analysis on that, if you want to try that out, that's a really good way. And you're using basketball data if you enjoy using that instead. So everything has fiscal years, apparently. Schools are another one, right? Universities and elementary, middle, and high schools, they usually span 2 calendar years in 1 year. So that's another thing to get used to, that sort of thing. All right. So again, important. Location X, location Y is going to be very interesting. I'll show you how that looks a bit later. Rod 720 TV. How's it going? Good to see you. Hope you are doing well. Rod says, just checking. Saw you were in English today. How have you been? I've been great. I've been, as you said, doing a lot of Spanish streams. They're going really well, and I'm getting lots of good feedback. But since today we're analyzing Kobe data, then I thought I would go ahead and stream in English. I'm not as familiar with some of the terms in Spanish as I am in English, so I was going to be probably stumbling upon myself quite a bit, trying to analyze these stats in Spanish. I'm actually going to do a Spanish stream probably later today about finance stuff, fiscal years, forecasts and plans and stuff, but doing really well. I hope you're doing well as well, Rod. I've checked a couple of your streams out. For those not familiar with Rod, let's see if we can do a quick shout out. There we go. All right. Check out Rod's channel. It's really, really cool. It's a lot of fun to watch. Hope you're doing well, Rod. Thanks for joining and thanks for being with us. Rod says, I got you. I'll still well. I'm walking the dog. Nice. My dog gets walked like at 6 a.m. Because she wakes up at 6 a.m. and proceeds to howl because she's a husky and apparently she's trying to communicate with her ancestors. So luckily our dog walking happens very early in the morning. Glad to see you're doing well, Rod. So we're actually going to look at the shot type as well. So let me drag in the shot type really quick. Here we have shot types are 2-point field goals. We'll have 3-point field goals as well. Those are pretty cool. And then we got to analyze our made it or missed it type of thing, right? That's a good one to analyze. So let's see, where do we get? Okay, action type. We got to bring in some action type. There's a go. There's some jump shots, slam dunks. Got to check those out for sure. Shot zone, you can look at shot zone base. The reality is you could bring in as many as you want here, as many as you're interested in. You can bring them in, see whether or not they're interesting, and then kill them. Like, just get them out of the grid. You don't need to do that. You don't need to keep them in there once you put them in there. Here's another one, shot zone basic. Don't need that. Let's see. I think what we want, maybe minutes remaining. Like, how is his accuracy based on how many minutes were remaining? That's an interesting one too. But then you have to start thinking, okay, is it minutes remaining in the game? Is it minutes remaining in the period? That's something you have to really, really take a close look at too. Shot distance. That's definitely something we want to see. I'm going to right click and don't summarize that. I'm not sure what the shot distance is, probably in feet from the basket. That's an interesting one too. And then let's see, shot made flag. That's something we definitely want to see, right? We want to know whether or not he made it. So here's the shot made flag. If you're new to data, but you're not at all new to basketball, just know that shot made flag, whenever you see a column with like flag, it's usually one of two values, 0 or 1. The 0 means no. The 1 means yes. That's usually how it is. IO, you usually see that on power buttons, right? IO, on, off, that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a easier to read version of the shot made flag, just a yes, no. So what I'll do is I'll right click on Kobe shot selection up here and I'll create a new column. Now the column requires code and it's going to be really, really easy. What we're going to name this column is shot underscore made underscore flag underscore Y. And you can put an underscore here or you can just leave it. I like to say just YN without the underscore, but you can put an underscore here. You can name this column whatever you want. You can name it Bobby. Nobody really cares as long as you know exactly what it is. Now, the person who's working on this report in 5 years or in 2 years, they might be annoyed that you named all your columns just like Bobby, Bobby 1, Bobby 2, etc. I'm going to name it shot made flag. Let's try that again because I pressed enter without adding any code. So I'm going to say shot underscore made underscore flag underscore YN. And then the code for that is just going to be something pretty simple. It's going to be an if statement. So if shot made flag, there it is right there, equals 1, then yes. otherwise N. So very simple. If requires 3 arguments, usually. What's the condition I'm checking? What do I do if it's yes or if it's true? And what do I do if it's false? And here I'm telling it, if the shot made flag is 1, then give me yes. If not, give me no. Good to go. That's pretty simple. Now, did we get it right? Well, hopefully I made a career out of this. I'm hoping we got it right. So I'm just going to add it right here to the table, right next to the 1 and 0 side. And here we can see that whenever it is a 1, it is a yes. Whenever it's a 0, it's a no. And something interesting, and why I said just if it's not 1, is that sometimes we have blanks. So it's your choice at this point. You get to control things. We're all counting on you. What are you going to do if there's no data about the shot being made? For me, I'm going to default it to no, but if you want to default it to something else to say, oh, if it's unknown, then you have an alternate way of doing this. So let's create a new column again, just so I can leave everything how it is. So I'm going to create a shot made flag, and then I'm going to say simple. How about we name it simple? Then here, I'm going to use a different function, not an if. If you're familiar with Excel, if functions are really popular. I'm going to use something that's a bit more programmatical, and maybe Excel has this one. I'm not really sure. I haven't tried it in Excel. I'm going to use a switch. Switch says, evaluate this value. So we're going to evaluate the shot made flag. And then we're going to say, separate it with a comma and say, if we see yes, if we see 1, then it's yes. If we see 0, then it's no. And if we see anything else, then we'll say U or X. Usually I'll say U for unknown. And let me add some more commas here to separate it. Again, all these functions are going to be available in the Google Drive link that you have. So don't worry too much about getting these right. I'll include them in my PBIX file. So here, I'm going to add some comments just so that you know what you're looking at. And to do a comment, I'll just do /*. So /*, and I'll say, this is a simple function. I don't really have to put all that stuff. I could just say simple function to mark shot made. Yes, no, or U for unknown. U equals unknown. And make sure I end my function, otherwise the whole thing is going to be a comment and nobody will like that and it won't work. All right, so it is done. I'm going to go ahead and add it right here next to it and we'll be able to see everything. So we can see this column here. Let me go ahead and remove that. So we can see whenever it's 1, it's yes and yes on both. Hey, JeanTonos, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for being here. JeanTonos says, why would there be blanks? Is that just an error from the person that inserted the data? Yeah, that's very possible. It's very possible that the person just didn't have the information or somehow it wasn't recorded. For example, I'm building a custom data set right now, and there are just some times that I don't have the data I need. It wasn't available. I was eating popcorn at the time and I missed whether or not he made it. So that's always something that is possible, and we want to make sure, sometimes you'll want to make sure that you understand the difference between a didn't make it and a I don't have enough data available. Why? Because the reality is, if you only want to deal with certainties where we're certain he made it or we're certain he didn't, then you can actually filter out the U's, right? We can see right here, this one, 153, 181, are the coordinates. It's blank. We don't know if he made it or not. And we have a no here for the standard shot made flag, but for my additional one, we have the U. So we can use this U and just say, get rid of all the U's. I only want to deal with certainties. So thanks for that question. That's a really good question. And the reality is we get to blame as data analysts. We just get to blame. I don't know, man. The data just didn't come in. That's someone's eating popcorn while they were supposed to be watching the game, apparently. And it's not my problem. Well, it, kind of is our problem because we're displaying the data. If we don't make it very clear that there are caveats to this data, then it will be our problem because we'll be misinterpreting or misrepresenting the data. So hope that answers your question. Feel free to ask lots more. It's great to see you here, and thanks so much for joining. All right. And maybe there's a correlation with the stuff that we don't know. Not to keep driving that topic, but maybe the ones that are blank have a specific shot type or a specific period, some specific attribute where there's a reason we don't know. That'd be very interesting to explore. I challenge you to explore that and let me know what you find. See if you can find any correlations. That's literally our job, is to find these correlations and see what sort of things we can find about stuff that we couldn't gather. I'm babbling again, aren't I? Yes, I'm babbling. So let's continue. I don't think there's anything else. I mean, the reality is the tables are endless, folks. So you can feel free to just keep adding these. If I want seconds remaining, I'm going to right click and don't summarize that as well. If I want the combined shot type, we can do that too. Where's the combined shot type and shot type? I would say this is more like a shot category, right? Combined shot type is more like a shot category. And then action type is an actual type. So there are many different types of jump shots, such as standard, running. There's different types of dunks, such as, I guess, standard dunks and also slam dunks. So they were very, very precise in this data, which is pretty cool. So there we go. Different types of layups. If you want to get all of the unique ones, you can absolutely do so by just adding these two columns, right? And you'll see all the unique values there. And you'll actually see how many he did as well. Maybe we'll try that in a bar chart. All right. So we made our first one. And again, we just wanted a simple version. Now let's go to the raw. Now, what is this raw? You'll see why I called it raw data is because it's sort of unstructured. It has structure by design, but it's sort of unstructured. Before we do that, though, what are we always forgetting? We're always forgetting to save. Then we work on this for an hour, right? We've been working on this for 40 minutes, or at least I've been talking for 40 minutes, and I still haven't saved it. What does that mean? That means I'm probably going to lose my work if someone trips over a power cord or something. So let's go ahead and name this file. I'll name it Kobe Shot Analysis. And then today, I'm actually going to name it after the date. 2024-0929 is the date today. I'll click save. And now we have the file and we're good to go. We can trip over power cords all we want and we will be good to go because we can just recover our file. All right, let's open up a new page. And to do that, I'm just going to add the plus sign down here at the bottom. We'll go ahead and name this raw. Or not page one raw, we'll just name it raw. There we go. Now, what are we going to do to get that raw data? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a scatter chart. Okay. And that scatter chart is available right here. It's just all these dots. There's also, I'm sure, tons of custom scatter charts. I'm going to give you the basic stuff, right? The stuff that you can do in very short time. And that's what I want to help you with. But you're free to use all sorts of custom visuals. They're available in the marketplace. If you're not familiar, these three dots right here at the bottom will let you get more visuals and open up a full marketplace. All I have to do is put the word scatter here, and you can see how many different results there are. Some are paid, some are free. Just know that. The ones I try to default to are the Microsoft ones. So you can see Microsoft Corporation here. However, if I've seen a YouTube video that happens to have a custom one, let's say by XViz, they're very popular, then I'll use that instead. Some of these come with samples, some of them don't. So if I click on Enhanced Scatter from Microsoft, for example, usually they'll have a download sample button. There it is, download sample button. They'll give you a PBIX that shows you how to best use it. This one, I guess they're using it for some samples for like a blueprint. This looks like a blueprint of a building or something like that. That's pretty cool. And then they also have some bacteria analysis. That's great too. Anyway, we're not going to use that. We're just going to use the standard one, but just know that you can use those if you so desire. All right. So here we have values, x-axis, y-axis, legend. So it tells you pretty much what you need to put where. So we're going to try putting location x in the x-axis and location y in the y-axis. So you can see not much going on there, right? And that's because, again, it summarizes them. So it gives me the sum of x and the sum of y. We do not want that. So we're going to right click here and say, don't summarize. And we start to see some action, but we need to do that for y as well. So here's y. And now we can see some sort of shape taking hold. When we compress it a little bit more, now we sort of see that there's an arc forming. And if we want to get it the same exact way that this one was, I think what happened here was I probably just put the X in the wrong place, right? See, I have location X in the Y-axis and location Y in the X-axis. So if you want to do that, you can absolutely feel free to. Let's try that actually really quick. There we go. So here's that. Why? Because normally this is a representation of a basketball court, right? So it's usually horizontal. The ones I downloaded are vertical because I used a half court. Here's something that you need to understand is that even though the game occurs on both sides of the court, right? Halftime they switch sides. What this person did was they accumulated data that happened on both sides of the court, and they just kind of inversed it so that everything could be analyzed in one space. And you don't have to like analyze one side of the court versus the other. It's really about how far away he was from the hoop, the basket, and analyzing that sort of thing. So just know that this doesn't mean all the games occurred just on one side of the court. You know, for those who are actually the game occurred. No, you don't have to worry about that. They just compressed it into one side of the court. So you will be analyzing all of the data, even if both sides of the court aren't represented. All right. So I had all sorts of different colors as well, right? So what was that? That was actually the shot type, or no, shot made, it looks like. So let's try that instead. So we had shot made. We're going to take the shot made flag and we're going to drag it into the legend. When you do that, things will turn different colors. So it'll isolate all the ones, which are yes, and all the zeros, which are no's. And then we have the blanks. This was our basic column, the column that came with this data, but we made a more advanced one, or I guess a simplified one, which is this one. So now we have N, Y, and U's as well. The dark blues are the U's. So we will be able to change the colors on those. I just wanted to show you what the data looks like in its most simplest form. So let's leave that here. And let's open up a new page. Now, what are we analyzing next? We're analyzing how many points the shot was for. So you could create everything all over again, but you could also just copy it from the last one, right? We already had some stuff. Let's go ahead and copy it, and then let's change it around. To copy a visual, you can just click on the visual itself, hold Control-C, or right click on it and just say copy visual. And then we're gonna right click here. Can we right click? No, just click paste up at the top there. I just use my keyboard, Control-V. But if you're not super familiar with the commands, that's all well and good. You can go ahead and just use the paste button right here. All right, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna first change the orientation. I went online and looked for some images to use. You can feel free to use whatever like image of a court you want. If you get a horizontal one, like a horizontal half court, please feel free to use this, which is horizontal. If you get a vertical one like I did, and we're going to use that for the background. If you get a vertical one like I did, you're going to have to switch the orientation here. So I'm just going to drag the Y down, or drag the X up, I guess, and then drag the Y down. And again, you always want to make sure that they are not summarized. Now, what do we see? We see that the data is sort of hovering around the bottom of the graph. And really what I need is to flip that, because the half-core image that I have is actually the other way around. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and compress this a little bit here. And then I'm going to insert the image. Now, you are free to literally go to Google Maps, not Google Maps, Google Images, and just search for half-court basketball diagram or something like that. That's probably something you'll want to do. Like, let me put that image or that query there. Half-court basketball diagram. Blueprint. That's another one that you can do, right? Blueprint is another one. I can't even remember what I did, but I found this image. So I'm gonna go ahead and import it, and let's see if I can find that one. We're gonna take a look around here and see if we can find it. There it is. I just got an image called basketball, because I named it incorrectly, basketball light diagram. So I'm going to open that image, and here's what we get: a basketball light diagram. So we're going to make this as small as possible while still being the original size that it was. So we can see that the representation is the court sort of pointing up, and our data is sort of pointing down. Now, what are we going to do? To resolve that, all you have to do is click on the image, then go to the y-axis, and there's a selection here called invert range. I'm going to turn that on, and suddenly my data is flipped around. So now I can sort of try to merge the two together. But what happens when I try to do that? Look, it just overpowers the image and goes in front. So what are we going to do? Well, it's an easy fix. You're going to click on the diagram, or not the diagram, but you're going to click on the scatter plot itself. And then you're going to go to the formatting area if you haven't been here. This is format your visual, which is a bar graph with a little paintbrush on the top. Now here you're going to go to general, you'll go to effects, and you will turn the background off. And now what you can see is that you can overlay that image. Now there is a way to do that without doing this. So I'm going to turn the background back on, and let's see if we can make that work. I know about this, but I haven't tried it yet, so I apologize if it doesn't work to our liking. But what we can do is go back to the plot, to the effects, and instead of turning the background off, what we'll go is to go to the visual area, and you'll see a button or a section called plot area background. I'm going to see if I can make it work with this. I'm going to hit browse, and I'm going to find that same image that we have here. And now we can see that it has the image, but look, it's super small. So let's see if there's any way we can fit it. Ooh, okay, that's not bad. And what happens when we say fill? Pretty much same thing. So let's leave it at fit, I guess. Oh, no, yeah, fill is wrong. Fill just cuts everything off, it seems. So let's do fit, and let's see if we can work with something. Let's see if we can work with something here. Does it let us? No, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. We can't reshape it the way we need to. So I'm just going to go ahead and not do that. I'm going to click the X here, and it's going to allow us to just reuse the same visual that we were using before. So yeah, we should be able to use that. Let's go ahead and turn off the background again. If we go to effects and go to background, there we are. Now we can put it right over the top. All right, so let's give this a shot. Now, this is the time where you get to be sort of, I don't know, a precision data worker, visual person. I'm not really sure what to call you. You're amazing. That's what you are. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to make this all fit correctly. Now, we're going to increase the size of this image right here, and maybe it's not the best quality, maybe you can find a better one, but what I'm going to try to do is get it to kind of show here, but we don't really have a good indication of where we're getting it right, because what we have is whether or not the shot was made. Am I to infer here that whether he made the shot or not depends on what distance he was from it, or whether or not he made it? Like, it really just doesn't make sense to use shot made as an indicator of where he was in the court. I mean, the physical location is pretty obvious here with the dots, but how else can we analyze it? Well, if you remember from the data grid, over here, we have the number of points. 2-point field goal. And then if we scroll down, I'm on a Mac, so scrolling down is very different. 3-point field goal. That's what we need, right? Let's try that instead. So here we have it by shot made. Oh, and look, we have some like weird issues where right now we're seeing the diagram and not the graph. Let's nip that, right? Let's make sure that doesn't happen anymore. We're going to go to the view section up at the top. We're going to go to selection, and we're always going to make sure that the image is below the shot made flag symbol. Shot made flag symbol is just the name for the graph or the scatter plot that we have. So you can always change the name of that by just double clicking right here and just say scatter plot. And you'll need this when you have lots and lots of visuals, backgrounds, shapes, buttons, etc. You'll want to make sure that you name them correctly. So here we can just show image, or we can rename the image to half court diagram. There we go. So now you'll be good to go, and the image will never show on top of the actual scatter plot unless you click on it. Sometimes when you click on it, it will, but the background is transparent, so you're good to go anyway. All right, so now that we've settled that, let's go ahead and have this analyzed by shot made. And now we want to change this up, right? But we don't want to have to do this all over again. We don't want to have to redo the scatter plot, redo the diagram. So all you have to do is right click and duplicate. And now we have a duplicate of the page. It does not affect the old one. Now here I can say by points. I can rename that to by points. And then here in the legend, instead of using whether the shot was made, I'm going to use, what was it that we saw before? Shot type. Shot type will tell us. Hopefully this will make it a lot easier to show whether or not we're using the right distance. So here, shot type, I'm just going to drag it into the legend. And now we can see 2-pointers and 3-pointers really easily, right? So now it's kind of up to you to get the best approximation that you can get of the number of points. And the reality is I need more space down here, right? Do I need this legend? Does anyone care that it's minus 200, plus 100, etc.? No. So what are we going to do? To get more space back, we're going to go to the visualization formatter, and we're going to go to the y-axis, remove the values, turn them off. You can see that the values are now gone. And here, the title as well, I want to remove that, and suddenly it's bigger. Same deal with the x-axis. I want to remove the values. Now they're gone, and then remove the title. Now it's gone. So now I have a lot more room, but as you can see, I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get it right. So what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to change the image around a little bit so that the image is slightly more compressed. And we're going to have to just play around with things a little bit more now. Let's see if we can do that. I don't want to waste your time doing this, but you are going to have to do it yourself as well. So we're doing it together right now. Let's see if we can get it to work together. Okay, that's sort of aligned. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more aligned here too. I'd rather be a bit conservative and say there were a lot more 3-pointers. Let's see. I think that will probably do it. We can isolate the threes by just clicking on the 3-point field goal up here in the legend. You can click on those and you'll see that the 2 points will kind of fade away. That leaves you with a little bit more room to work with the, not room, but a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier to identify where those 3-pointers were. So we're just gonna go ahead and leave it right here. Again, you can play around with the data a lot more because you can have the time for that. The problem though is I need to move everything up a little bit, right? Which means I need to move the diagram down. So that's actually not gonna work. Let's see how it looks now. I gotta get stuff closer, right? Because there were some dunks here, so I know for a fact that we're supposed to be a lot closer. Does this work? If I drag it all the way down, okay, that's it. That's enough of an approximation where I'm no longer wasting your time. So hopefully it'll work well enough. If not, then we can get it a little bit. But, oh man, it's gonna kill me. I'm sure it's gonna kill you too to have it perfect. Let's just take a second and try to do that. Okay, that's about as close as I want to make it right now. Again, the other one is way closer, and if I really wanted to, I could just copy it from here, right? So I got this one to be really, really close. So technically speaking, let's cheat a little bit. We're gonna copy everything here, and the cool thing about Power BI is you can actually copy it over to a completely different report. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. And how did we get the 2-point and 3-point to be blue and purple? Those are just ones that I chose, but let's do that here so that we can demo it, and then I'll just switch over to use the one that I spent probably like 45 minutes configuring. So to get them to be the right color, or whatever color you want, what I'm gonna do is click right here. I'm gonna make sure I have my scatter plots in focus, and then what I'm gonna do here is click on the markers. Now for the markers, you can see that there's a series and it says all, but here I get to choose whether I want to target the 2-point or the 3-point. I'm going to choose the 2-point first, and the 2-point, you can choose what sort of shape they have. So if you want them to be X's, they'll be X's. If you want them to be dots like we have, they'll be dots. And you also get to choose the color. So the color is something, let me make sure that I'm doing it right. The color is going to be light blue for the 2-pointers. And then for the 3-pointers, let's go to markers again. We're going to switch this to 3-point. And then here, we will have like a light purple. And you can play around with that as much as you want. If you want it to be a little bit darker purple, you can always do that. If you want to pick the color yourself, that's all well and good. Just go to more colors here, and you can either enter the hex, the RGB, or you can just pick it from this picker. All right, so now that we have this, again, I'm gonna go ahead and just delete all of this because we have our better version. Let's grab it from here. I'm gonna copy it. And again, you will have full access to this. Don't you worry. If you're watching this video on YouTube, just go down there and you can see the link to the diagram, or the link to all of the code. Including the PBIX file, including the data set, all that good stuff is available for you there. Here we're going to make sure that we have our diagram labeled correctly because we stole it from the other report. There's the diagram, and here we have, oh, shot type and shot location are okay. Here you'll see that the name is sort of a little bit more friendly, and the reason for that is because I renamed the columns. If you look at this one, the columns are just like XY. And here, lock X, lock Y, which stands for location. All you have to do to rename those are location X. Just double click on them. Double click, highlight everything, and then say location Y, which really doesn't matter because I'm going to remove the legend, right? Normally you'd have it remove the title or something, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. But here we're going to have the shot made, and again, this one is perfectly designed, so I'm just going to keep using this for everything. Let's put it back to shot made here. I'm going to remove everything from here, paste it, and now instead of having a visual representation of the 2 pointers versus the 3 pointers, now we're going to identify when he made it or not. So we're going to use this shot made flag yes, no, which is right here. And now I can choose what colors to give the shot made flag. So we can see right here, shot made yes or no. Oh, I thought I used the right one. Let's go ahead and use the right one, which is the shot made flag simple, right? There's some where we just don't know. If we click on that U, we can see that there's quite a few of those times where someone went to get popcorn. So what I'm going to do is release that filter, and you can filter it on the yes, you can filter it on the no, etc. So normally when we display data, we'll say that we'll use the traffic light system, right? Red is yes, or red is no or bad. Green is yes, right? So we'll go ahead and use that. And then for the U, we'll probably just want those to fade into the background. So we'll probably make them like light gray or something. Let's try that. So again, we're going to have this highlighted, and we are going to click markers. And so here, I'm going to do these individually. For no, I'm going to click the color, and the color is going to be a very light red. Let's see. That's good. It looks like a colorblind test, doesn't it? Man, just reminds me of all the colorblind tests I have to do because I'm actually color deficient, which means I can't tell the different shades of different colors. But I'm doing my best here. I tend to use this hex code a lot as a way of like cheating, but it's really just I need to do it because otherwise I can't tell. The guy that doesn't see color very well is doing these reports. Isn't that scary that I have a career that does that? Okay, so for the Y, I'm going to click some green. I want to find some green, right? And obviously there's no green here. You could use another color if you feel like it. I'm going to go here for more colors, and then I'm going to sort of just give it like, I'm going to try these around. And the cool thing is you can kind of see these change live, right? As you click around here, you can see them change live, which is good. There we go. I'm going to leave that right there. That's good for me. Hopefully it's okay for you. If it's not, guess what? You have the file. You can change it all the time. No problem. Feel free to. What I like to do though, is I like to make sure that when I use custom colors like this, I write them down. And by writing down, I don't mean taking, a Post-it note and writing them down. What I mean is, Rod720 TV says colorblind is crazy. Luckily, I'm not colorblind. I'm just color deficient. And colorblind is like, you see one color as another, or you can't see a particular color. There's a difference where I just can't see the different shades of the same color. So like a light green versus a dark green, or like a teal versus blue, I get really confused with those. The tests for those are actually really interesting because they lay like a set of tiles out in front of you. At the ophthalmologist, they'll lay a set of tiles in front of you, and they'll just say, hey, arrange these in color and also in shade. And I was able to arrange them in color just fine, just the shades were all over the place. So yeah, if you suspect that might be you as well, I'd recommend getting one of those color deficiency tests. I actually realized it when I worked retail. When I worked retail, we had something called Izing. For those of you who ever worked at Pacific somewhere, or really any retail store, we had something called Izing where you had to size it, colorize it, and organize it or something like that. And I always failed at the color side, and I had to start reading the tags. That's how I knew what colors they were. So, all right, there's a small story and a tangent for you. You get plenty of those when you're watching this stream. Okay, so I have what I need here. I'm gonna write down the color I used, right? Because I don't want to keep having to look for it. So what I'm gonna do is go to more colors here, and I'm gonna write down, or I'm gonna copy the hex code. Then I'll make a new page, and I'll just make a new text box here. I'm going to insert a text box. And here in this text box, I'm just going to have a few different things like colors used, And this is actually, if you've seen my streams before or my videos before, you'll know that at the end I always have a credits page that gives credit to the original author of the data that we used, a link to theirs, a link to my website, etc. And here's where I'm going to put these reference points. So here I'm going to say green shot made, and I will paste this. There we go. And I'm going to say red shot missed. I can do that as well. So let's go back to this page. Is this the page? Nope. By points? Nope. There we go. We're going to look at the markers. We're going to go to no. And we're going to grab that color too. So color here, more colors, copy that. And then there's one more, right? Which is, what are we going to do with that one? Just gray. Shot made unknown. That's what we'll call it. And then here, we will just change this to gray. So we'll go to markers. We'll go to the U, which was a special one that we identified. And we'll change this color to like a light gray. That way they kind of disappear into the background, but they're still there. It's kind of weird. You'll see them, but you won't. They'll not be in the way, right? If we did like a color, like a darker color, like purple, I feel like they'd kind of be in the way. And the reality is, like JeanTonos said earlier, do we really want to analyze those? Or how we brought up earlier, do we really want to analyze those? And some people just might say, get rid of them. I really don't care about the ones that we don't know anything about. But some folks might want to say, hey, let's take a deeper look at those. Because if you look, they're all over the place. It's not like it's just one section of the court that was unknown. They're really all over. So you might want to highlight them. You might also want them to fade in the background. And so we're going to have them just fade into the background a little bit. We're going to click on those more colors, and we can see that the hex code is just 6 C's. So we'll go to our page 2, which has our references, and we'll paste that here. So let's already start making this our credits and reference page. The page 1, this was our sample that we stole from the other report, which we really want. This one's by points, so we're good here. This one we can probably delete, I'm thinking. Unless we're going to make it for another page. I thought we did like a by shot type, right? Let's find out. Yep, shots by type. There we go. So we can see lots of gem shots and sort of other types of shots here. So we'll remake that. Since we already have the data, if you don't, you could just copy it from any other page, right? You could right click and duplicate these, but we have it. So we're going to do by shot type. And let's change this to be, instead of by shot made, we're going to do it by shot type. So all we have to do, is it shot type? No. Man. Let's see what column we used for the other one here. It's in the data grid, right? We can always explore the data right here. Combine shot type and action type. Let's do combine shot type first. So here we're just going to click on this. There we go. Okay. We're going to do combine shot type instead of shot type. There we go. So we'll rename this to shot type by double clicking. And now we have by shot type, we can see here bank shot, dunk, hook shot. This is a little hard to see, this legend, right? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to the formatting of the legend, and the text, we're going to see if we can just make it really, really dark. That's a little bit better. Maybe we can position the legend differently. You have to watch out when you're doing this though, because you might end up messing something up, right? So like if I do top center, that's okay. But look what happens when I say top left or bottom, no, center left. Suddenly, everything goes wrong. So you want to make sure whatever you designed it with, you stay that way. Maybe top right. Nope, top center it is, right? Top center. All right, let's take a look. Let's make sure that everything stayed okay, right? Because now I just want to make sure everything was was still correct. Okay, so as you can see, there's a number of overwhelming jump shots. Kobe, literally why the meme. So what we want to do is, since they're so plentiful, it really doesn't allow us to really analyze the rest. It's just so overwhelming. And again, if you want to analyze those, then it's okay to bring them over prominently. But me, I want to take a look at the non-jump shots, the non-common ones, because we want to analyze those. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the visual, and I'm going to go again to markers. And in the markers section, it'll allow me to pick the color of all the different markers. But here, I think what I did in the other report when I was doing this as a sample was I actually just made them X's. And so when you do them as X's like this, the mistake I just made was everything became an X. What I want is only the jump shots to be X's. Let's see how that works. Now everything else kind of fades away. And if you're working with football, soccer, or any other sport, you might want these as X's instead, right? If you're trying to say like X's and O's because there's multiple teams playing at the same time and you want to analyze that, maybe you'll want to change one team to X's, one team to O's, or triangles. If that's better for you, that's fine too. Here I'm going to leave them as circles, but again, I'm just going to make them fade away a little bit. So maybe darker like that. There we go. Okay, so the rest of these are jump shots, and then everything else has a color. Bank shots are blue, dunks are dark blue, hook shots are orange, layups are, let's say, pink. Hopefully that's pink. And then tip shots are purple. And you'll notice that tip shots were actually the same color as jump shots. So though, before we changed jump shots over to gray, so what we did was actually allow tip shots to go through. So you'll see that they kind of like, I think these are the tip shots here, and I'll click on tip shot. Yeah, you'll see that they kind of blend into the purple. What you can do is have high contrasting ones. So if I want tip shots, for example, I'll switch it over to tip shot, and I haven't used yellow yet. So what if we use yellow? There we go. Now they stand out a little bit. Maybe they won't stand out against orange, but they'll certainly stand out against the pink ones that we had earlier. All right, so there we go. Now we have it by shot type. We have it by points. This is the best one you're going to want to use to get the shape right, because you might actually want to compress this down to be really small. I don't recommend that because everything's just going to blend in really close together. You want to get this as big as possible while still not taking up the whole screen. Or maybe you do want it to take up the whole screen. That's absolutely fine. So what are we going to do now? Now we're going to add a little bit of detail to this. We're going to go back to the shot made, okay? And this is great to have a visual representation, but it doesn't really give us any numbers. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is actually build out some numbers on the left so people can talk about what this is, or what data this is representing. So what I'm going to do is just highlight everything. And to do that, all I have to do is just draw a big old rectangle around it. And that means I can move everything at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and move it over here off to the right. And now we have room on the left. We have some real estate to put some numbers down. So what I'll do is maybe just draw a cheeky shape here. Let's see. And we'll make it take up sort of half or 3/4 of this. There we are. And then maybe we'll just make this purple. I think we could probably make it purple. Let's see. Maybe we can do a little bit of Laker purple and yellow here. Let's try it out. So if we go to the shape, we can see that it's a rectangle. That's fine. What we want is the style and the color. Let's do like a, I don't want to do such a dark purple like a Lakers purple, but this might work out for us. Let's give it a shot. What we're going to do is just gonna cover the whole thing. You could technically have this be the whole background if you want, and then just like yellow accents. But what we're going to do is just have a big old purple block here. We're going to want to make sure that we steal this color. So steal this hex code. And when you do that, sometimes it actually goes into your recent colors, which is good. So there it is in my recent colors. because I want to make sure that the border is also that color. If you look very, very closely, you'll see that the border is actually light blue. I can't see it, but I bet you can. So we're going to want to make sure we change that to be the same purple as the shape. So I'll go to style, I'll go to border. You could either turn it off or you can make it be the same color as the visual. And so now we're good to go here. And what I'm going to do is add another shape and make that the yellow or the gold. So here, now I'll have something a little bit smaller. And maybe it'll be, I told myself I wasn't going to get into the design of this thing, because honestly, this is where you're going to spend like 99% of your time. So just be careful. Don't let this design stuff get in the way of you being able to analyze the data. I'm just going to try to do something really, really quick. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, so be it. All right. So I'll go to the style. Let's pick sort of a yellow. That's a bit too gold, isn't it? Maybe we want to keep it like slightly pastel. That's probably a good thing. And then the shape, maybe we could do like a rounded rectangle. That's a bit too rounded. So let's decrease the corners to be maybe 3%. Is that okay? Yeah, that's not bad. And then we want to make sure we use the same yellow for the border as well. So there's our style. We're going to go to more colors, copy that code, but we really didn't have to do that because it kept it. Then we're going to go to border, and we're going to have the border be the same exact color. And then maybe for some visual effect, what we want is maybe a shadow. Does that even do anything? Shadow color, transparency, maybe we lower that to like 40 instead of 70. There we go. That gives you a little bit of a shadow there now. That's not bad. Okay, so why did I draw this square? It's because I want to put some data here, right? So I'm going to put total number of shots, for example. Let's make sure we get the alignment right here as well. All right, so total number of shots. How do I do that? All I have to do is add a card. So this is a visual called a card. And here I'm going to put the shot ID. Now, that doesn't sound right until you realize that each shot has a record. And so to count the number of shots, all you have to do is count the number of records. So this is a sum. We don't want that. We want the count distinct. So here we can see 30,000 shots are being analyzed. Now let's make this a lot smaller, right? The call out value can be half the size, 20. And then the label as well, that can be super small, like an 8, and maybe bold. Now, I don't want to just say count of shot ID and have that be done. What I want to do is say number unique shots or something like that. You could just say number of shots. That's fine too, right? And now I want this to sort of blend in. So what I'm going to do is put it right smack in the center, and then I'm going to turn the background off. I'm going to go to formatting, effects, turn off the background. And there we are. Now we can see 30,000 unique shots. And here we can say right underneath it, shots made, right? But how do we get it to filter just on shots made? Well, technically speaking, you could just highlight this yes, and PowerBI is intuitive. So it'll actually filter everything for you. And it'll filter it down to, oh, of the 30,000, 11,000 were made. I don't want to have the user have to do that. So what I'm going to do here is instead apply a filter. I'm going to apply a filter to the unique shots that says shot made flag simple. I'm going to apply it just at the visual level. And then I'm just going to check the Y. And now we can see the total shots is still here, but the unique shots that were made is also showing up at the same time. All right, we need a water break. There we go. Okay, so that means I have to change the name, right? I'm gonna put number shots made. There we go. So now we have shots made. Do you want to put some shots missed? I really don't. If that's what your analysis is about, cool. I don't need to do that. I just care about the shots made. But we can also have this in graphical format. And so if I copy this and I bring it down here, what I can actually do is maybe a bar graph. Ooh, need another water break. Hold on. I should have drank some tea. Luckily, I have my trusty inhaler with me, and I might need it for a second. Yay, asthma. All right, so all I have to do is just add a shape here. So let's go ahead and add a shape. And what we're gonna do is add a stacked bar chart. Now, something that's really important. You can add a normal bar chart. When you're thinking about normal bar charts, what are you thinking? Normal, like vertical bars. But I only like using vertical bars when I'm showing the progression of time. Why? Because when you look at a horizontal bar chart or vertical bars, you're always thinking progress over time. It's just how the brain works, and that's okay. It's okay to use them then. But if I'm not trying to show the progression of time, I want to make sure that I'm not confusing anyone unnecessarily. So I'm going to use horizontal one instead. And what I'm going to do is just have the shot made. This is the shot made analysis, right? So here is shot made flag simple. I'm going to drag that into the y-axis. And then I'm going to drag the shot ID to the x-axis. And there we go. Now we have no, yes, and you. Now, if I want to get even more specific and just give the user some ease of use, I could actually make a new version of this. I'm going to just go ahead and go into the shot made flag simple, grab the formula, right click on Kobe shot selection, click on new column. And again, you'll have all this, so don't worry about replicating it too much. But what I'm going to do is say full word here. And I'm going to say yes. Instead of y, it's just going to be yes, no, or unknown. Same exact logic, right? We don't need to change that. What we need to do, though, is be a little bit more verbose so that people understand what they're looking at. Oh, and then here I'll just say shot made flag word. And the reason why I keep naming these shot made flag something is so when you're looking at this organization wise, they're all in the same place. That's something just as because I'm lazy and I don't feel like looking around for everything. I want to make sure I do that. Now, if you have them all over the place, you can always use this search bar here to see shot made. But actually, let me get out of the way here. Oh no, they're right there. You can probably see those right here. They're all kind of in this area. So that's why I do that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and change this bar graph to be shot made flag word instead of simple. And now we have no, yes, and unknown. And then we're going to go ahead and just compress it down a little bit. So let's resize it. There. We just want to make sure it fits inside. There we are. And let's turn these bars purple, right? Let's use the purple. We're going to go to the bar area. We'll go to the color of the bar, and then we will pick this purple right here so that it matches. And then let's see, should we turn the background off? Yeah, I think we should. So let's go to the general effects and background. There we are. Now we are going to change the name of this to shot made, the y-axis, and you can see that the actual the title changes based on these columns that you're changing the names of here. So here I can say number of shots. This is the number of shots, and it's now the title is dynamic, and it's number of shots by shot made, which is kind of like passable, I guess, but not perfect. All right, so the question is, should we give a background to this, the rest of this pane here? I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. It's because this image of the court is still white. There's nothing I can do about that. So I'm gonna leave it alone, and I'll let you do some additional stuff and send it back to me. Let me know what sort of cool designs you come up with. All right, I need one more right here. One more just to fill the space. So what are we gonna do here? Number of shots made, number of, I don't want to do shots missed, but I guess we're gonna do that. Number of shots missed. So all I have to do is, remember, if I just copy this, I can just copy the shots made, align it perfectly, and then remember, the reason we have shots made is because the shot made flag was set to yes. So I can just uncheck that, set it to no, and now I have a shots missed right there, without very much work, right? Now I just change the title of this, or the name of the field, to shots missed. And as you can see, when I change it here, it doesn't change it in the source. The source stays the same. So if I want to know what field I'm using, all I have to do is just hover over this, and I can see that it is a count of the shot ID that I'm using for number of shots missed. If you're ever working on someone else's report, or even a report from you a long time ago, just know that that's how you can find it. All right, so let me realign these a little bit, because it looks like we need, no, you know what? I can put something like stats here. Something like overall stats as a title. So let's bring in a text box and just say overall stats. And then make this maybe a little bit bigger, bold, and then centered. Although you really don't have to worry about center too much. And then we'll shrink the size quite a bit, and we'll make the background transparent in the effects. So here we're going to bring it all the way up, shrink it this way, and shrink it this way, and now we have it sort of centered, and there we are. Now the cool thing about this is I don't have to keep doing this for each and every page, right? It's kind of annoying to do. So what I would recommend, if you're going to go design crazy, then you may as well just do one page first and then just keep duplicating that elsewhere. All right, so let me show you what I mean. You can right click, duplicate this, and now you'll have the entire design. All you have to do is change this court or change these values here, but you already have all of your design worked out. So that's pretty cool. Another way, I'm going to go ahead and delete this and see which one is the best way. So another way is if you go back to that source, you can actually highlight all of this stuff. The problem is sometimes you might not get the purple rectangle. So if you hold Control, you can make sure that it's selected. And now we have it. I'm going to say Control C. I'm going to go to the by points page and just make sure I move this court all the way to the right. And then I'm going to hit paste. And now we have everything again. Same thing for the shot type. And then paste. And there we go. Now I have the same design across all of them. And even the credits and reference. Why not? Although I really just don't need any of this stuff, right? So here, I'm probably just going to make the text box bigger. So let me just go ahead and delete. Delete that. Delete that. Or maybe I can just keep that and say number of records analyzed. Number of records analyzed. Here we go. That's not bad. Delete that. Delete this chart because we don't need it. And then here, I'm going to go ahead and change the background of this to be invisible. And I will just put this over here. There we go. So at least it stays with the... Oh, what happened? It disappeared. How do we find it again? Anyone remember? All we have to do is go to view up here and go to the selection pane, make sure that's selected. And now we can see the text box is right up here. But this text box is the one that we're looking for, isn't it? Let's drag it up. And there, it's back. Not to worry, crisis averted. Let's go ahead and save because we haven't saved in a while. Gonna go ahead and add my logo. Let's see if we can find it. It's always in a new place every time I look for it. Like the spatula or the barbecue tongs. There we go. I don't know, this one. Let's do that one. There we are. All right, so I'm gonna have my logo here, but I also want this logo to lead to my report demos. So what I'm gonna do is click on my logo. I'll say action. See how it already comes up with action? I'll turn that on, and I'll say this is a web URL. Now it's gonna be https sqldevdba.com/ and I want to say, I haven't searched for this in a while, so let's try to see where it is. I think it's power-bi-demos. So there we go. Power-bi-demos. If you haven't been, it is the place where basically I keep my portfolio. I will here, if you load this page, it has lots of interactive reports, and this report is actually going to be on there as well when I'm done. But basically I have links to my YouTube videos, links to actually not links, these are live reports that you can interact with right on your computer without downloading anything. You just interact with the report. Here's a sim racing one. Here's some stuff that I analyze about Puerto Rico, and even my daughter's Roblox dashboard that she made a couple months ago. I have to bribe her into making some more stuff so I can post it up here. But let's put a link to that. So here we are, going back to this. We're going to paste this web URL. And now when you click on it, if I control click, it loads up my demos page. So you'll be able to click on that as well. And then here, I'm going to add sort of a description, I guess. This is what I wanted to do earlier, where I have a shape and I sort of do a little bit of this. But that doesn't look fantastic, does it? It's a good thing I didn't try it with the other one, huh? So here I'll just make a rectangle, and then I will see if I can have the style, the border. No, it has a border. So why is it so small? Is it because of the shadow? Let's see. Yeah, it's because of the shadow. Okay, so I'm gonna bring that shape all the way to the bottom. And then here in this purple one, why don't I add a shadow to that? Nope, I'm not gonna do that. All right, that's not bad. Here, I'm just gonna add a text box. And since I don't wanna create a brand new text box on my own, I'm going to just paste this one. And I'm gonna say report developed, or no, I'm gonna keep it programmer-esque and say created by SQL Dev DBA. Created date is 2024-09-29. Super, thanks Instagram. And description analyzes KobeBryant stats. And here's where I say thanks to Xavier. Credits, Dataset, thanks Xavier, and a link to Xavier's dataset. There we are. Maybe a quick description. This report was created live on Twitch. And here we can say, we can have a link to my profile on Twitch, twitch.tv. /SQL Dev DBA and make that a link because it didn't go through. So let's highlight it, copy it, and then we'll click the insert link. We'll paste that and click done, and bam, we're good to go there. I usually put any like image credits here too, but luckily I am not using any images. I created them all myself, so I can just take full credit for the images we created. Oh no, you know what I did do is take the diagram with the basketball court, right? But unfortunately I can't grab that one. Anyway, here's the data set. I'll make the credits bold as well, make the data set bold, and let's go back and just review a couple things. Here's the raw table. Oh no, here's the raw data set. I'm leaving that in there for you, but really I want to hide that, so I'm gonna hide it like this. Then we'll go to the data grid. The data grid, maybe that's a good one to have as a as part of the whole experience, right? So here I'm going to actually duplicate the data grid, or duplicate the credits and reference, because I already have the yellow background there, and I'm just going to name this data grid, not data grid, data grid. All right, and I'm going to copy this data grid over from here. I don't need any of these because I already put them in the credits and reference section. I really don't even need this overall stat stuff, but it's fine to just leave. And here we're just gonna remove this, and now we have a full data grid. And you'll notice that I keep clicking up at the top here. It's because it sorts just like Excel. You're actually sorting when you click on these. If you want to sort by multiple columns, you just hold Shift, and you can sort by like game ID and shot ID, for example. And there we are. Now it's permanently doing that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and remove this text box, and maybe we'll put something else. But data grid can now be absolutely gone. All right, yeah, we don't need to see that. Now it's by shot made, by points, by shot type, credits reference, and the data grid. Okay, so what I want to do is be able to navigate, just a navigation between all the different pages. Where do I do that? Where do I do that? I think what I can do, no, let's not do navigation yet. I still have other pages to finish, like this one here, shots by point type. I want to make sure it's not just shots by shot made here, right? So shots by point type, I want to make sure that I do something like, yeah, the bar graph is fine. We just have to change it from shots made to shots by point type. So what is the field that I'm using here? I'm just going to click on this visual, and we can see shot type. Shot underscore type is the one that I'm using. So all we have to do is take shot type, put it here, and then remove shot made. So here we have shot type. All right, so I'm glad this landed, because now we can see a small problem. The small problem is that the text is sort of cutting off, right? So the first thing we want to do is just make sure we solidify that name change. So it's number of shots by shot type now. And then here on the left, you can see shot type as well. So how do I increase the size of this label so that you can properly see it? Well, all you have to do is go to the formatting, and then you go to the search bar. Why the search bar? Is because I feel like every time I look for it myself, I just make a fool out of myself. So if you go to the search bar and just type width, you can find maximum width, and you just slide this over all the way to the end, and here we go. It's done. You don't have to search for it. You don't have to scroll around, just maximum width, and we can see that it's a lot better. So if you're looking for that maximum width, always just use the search bar. All right, and we're also going to remove this and change the color of the x-axis, the y-axis, to make it a little bit more bold. There we go. That's a little bit better. So much better that I'm actually going to use that for the other one too, right? Let's go to y-axis, make it bold, and we're good. Okay, now same thing just by shot type. Actually, no. If you notice, this diagram here has blue shots for 2-pointers, purple for 3-pointers. So what are we going to do? Well, we want to make sure that our graph here on the left is also consistent, right? We want to make sure it's consistent. So the 2-pointers are supposed to be blue. Let's make them blue. All we have to do is go here, go to the chart or the format visual, go to bars, and the 2-pointers, select that, and just select the blue. And now we can have them matching, right? When you're on this page, you want to make sure that what you see is completely consistent, whether you're looking at the graph here on the left or the diagram in the middle. You always want to make sure it's perfectly consistent. Should we do that same thing on the shots made? I think we should. Let's go over here, and then we're going to do shot made yes. Let's do the bars. Shot made yes is going to be, no, we have to select the category. This is going to be the green. And remember, we lost it. We had a green and we lost it. So all I have to do is go to the credits and reference. And here's the green. Copy that. Oh, wrong visual. There we go. Nope, still wrong visual. There we are. Now go to format, go to bars. Yes, the color we want is this one. So there we are. Yes. And then the nose. Let's grab the nose. That's a red. We'll go back here. We'll go to format, bars. We'll go to no. And the color we want is this one. There we are. And then the unknown is that light gray, right? So that's what we want, the light gray. We'll go to shots made. Click on the bar graph. Format, bars. This is the slightly more boring side of things. Rod says, I'm still here, man. Always amazed to see you work. Thanks so much, Rod. I appreciate your support. Again, I'm not very familiar with the topic. I don't know as much about basketball as lots of you folks do, but I'm here to show that as a data analyst, you can tackle any topic. Doesn't matter if it's golf, doesn't matter if it's hotels, transportation, whatever. You should be able to tackle it, and I want you to have the confidence to go in and apply for that position, even though it might be an industry you're not very familiar with. So thanks a lot for your support, Rob. Okay, so we're gonna go to shots made. We have everything here. What we want to do is make sure we address these on the top as well, right? 2 points and 3 points. We can change these right here to be 2 points and 3 points as well. We can leave the unique shots alone, no problem, right? What we want to do is make sure we represent whatever's being represented here, but in a numeric format. So we're going to change this right here. We're going to open up the filters for this visual, and we're going to switch this to be 2 pointers. So how do I do that? Well, I remove this shot made flag and I say shot type. Drag it into the filters and check the 2-point field goal. And now it's filtered for 2 pointers. And it still says shots made. So we want to make sure it's not limited to that. We want to make sure it's number 2.2 PT field goals. There we go. And now here, same thing again. You can be lazy like me and just copy this one since you already have the filter applied, or you can do it the long way, which is again removing the shot made flag filter. You gotta make sure you remove it. Adding shot type. Selecting only 3 pointers, and now we have number of 3 PT field goals. And there we are. Now we have number of unique shots, number 2 pointers, number 3 pointers. And usually if you have someone who's astute, they'll usually be cross-checking this stuff for you, and you want them to, and maybe you want to do this yourself as well, right? You want to make sure that they cross-check and go, hey, that 24.27 plus the 64.26, that doesn't add up to 30K. What's going on? So you can always, to your comfort level, you can go ahead and check them yourself. Another thing you can do, right, is if you don't like the fact that it's 30.70K and you just want it to show the raw number, you go to the visual, you go to the call out value, you go to this display units and you say none. And now you're showing the total number of shots here. No matter what, it's always going to display the full number. If you'd rather have it be that way because you need it to be, that's absolutely fine too. Okay. Here, it's also 0.0 billion. That's a number that's easy to 0.0 billion, 0.02 billion, right? That's absolutely makes no sense. So that one we definitely want to do. We're going to go to the x-axis for this, and we'll go to values, and we'll go to display units and change them to thousands. So 200,000. That looks really weird, doesn't it? What if we do none? Yeah, that's probably a bit better. We just do none. Now, what happens when we hover over it? When we hover over these, we see a really weird number. What does that mean? That means we forgot to count these. We forgot to count them. We have to make sure we count them. We're just using a sum. That looks really weird. And so you have to make sure that you quality check your own data before you present it to others. If I right click on number of shots here, I have to change this to count distinct. And now we can see that this number makes a lot more sense as opposed to this one. Okay. So let's make sure we do that for all of our graphs. We want to make sure that we're consistent here. This still says 2.2 billion. So we missed that, folks. We got to fix it. Go to count distinct instead. All you have to do is right click number of shots, count distinct, and now we're good. The ratios are always going to be the same, and that's why the data just looked fine, but it isn't. It isn't fine. Someone's going to go, what do you mean 300 million shots there? Right click, count distinct. Water break. All right. So, did we make sure we changed it here? We sure did. Credits reference, that's good. Data grid, that's good too. All right, we changed it everywhere. We gotta make sure. Yep, we gotta make sure we do it right. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that to get the exact number of no's, yeses, and unknowns, I have to hover over this. And I'm just like, okay, I don't want to have to do that, right? So what you can do is just click on this visual, go to formatting, and then you'll see an option for data labels. If you turn that on, you'll actually see some data labels pop in here, and you can actually customize those. You can have them be a little bit more bold like that. You can give them a background if you so desire. You can change them to be a custom field. You can have them be a title. The position, I'd rather maybe put them inside end like this. That looks a little bit better, but auto is absolutely fine to use. Not only that, but while we're on the subject of labels, what if instead of the number of records, you want to show them as a percentage? Well, if you change this right here, you can just right click on the number of shots and you can say show value as % of grand total. And now we can see that 46% of shots, 37% of shots, and 16% of shots belong to each category. But now I don't know how many shots that means. So all I have to do is add number of shots in again. So I'm going to drag in the shot ID column right down here and right click on it, count distinct. And now I have them both. But now that messes up my colors and stuff. What I'm going to do is just add them to the tooltip instead. That keeps all my formatting the same way it was before. And now I can just rename this to number of shots. And now when I hover over this, I'll have both the percentage and the number of shots. So that's always something that you can do to just add a little bit of depth when someone hovers over that. So let's do that for everything. Let's just change everything to % of grand total. So I'm going to right click here on number of shots, Or you can do it the other way around, right? If you'd rather add the percent of grand total as a tooltip, let's say you want to do that here. I'm just going to add the shot ID down to the tooltips. And then I'll double click on this and say percent of total. And now when I click on it, oh, I forgot to do the count distinct, didn't I? I'm going to right click on this, show value as percent of grand total. And I'll say percent of total here, rename that so it doesn't look weird. And now when I hover over it, I got the number of shots and the percent of grand total. But I want to make sure I have my data labels on just so I can see them. And you can see different formats of labels, right? You always want to make sure you're consistent. I'm not going to leave it like this anymore then. I'm just going to say, just going to have the data label position be auto, but the value, I'm going to change it to be display units. Oh, that's weird. That's weird that it has auto, but it still chose to represent 24,000. Interesting. Anyway, I'll leave it like that. That's fine. All right, let's do it by shot type. Yes, no, unknown, no. Shot made, that's the label we have. Oh, I forgot to rename this, didn't I? Why does it say shot made? Why does it say shot made in the legend? Is that something I added in the legend? Title? Yeah, it must have been. That's really weird. Okay, shot type here. This is where we analyze by shot type. All right, so here I'm gonna say number of shots by shot type instead, and you'll see that the bar graph will actually change. Rod says, okay, dude, I'm out of here. Have a good day. When will you be streaming with your driving rig again? Have a great day as well, Rod. Thank you for stopping by. I'm not sure. I use it every now and then just to collect some data so that I can write Power BI reports about it. I don't know. I never really know when I'm gonna stream. I wish I had a more consistent schedule, but really, I stream just to be able to hang out with y'all and to record stuff. And sometimes I just end up recording it and posting straight on YouTube again. So not sure, but hopefully sometime soon. So hopefully I can get into some rhythm. But I appreciate you being here, Rod. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a fantastic day, fantastic little what's left of your weekend. And I hope you have a great week. Thanks so much. See you later. Okay, so shot type, bank shot, dunk, hook shot. We want to make sure we are able to represent all of these here. So what column did we use? We used shot made flag word. Did we? Something feels weird. Oh no, we didn't. I was looking at the wrong visual. We used shot type, combined shot type. Let's use that instead. Rod says, okay, later. You too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here again. So shot made here, we're going to switch that, remove it, and then we're going to say combined shot type, I think is the one we use. There they are. Combined shot type. And I am going to rename this to just shot type. There we are. So number of shots by shot type. We can see jump shots are the top one. And that's all well and good. If you want to sort it by something else, you can absolutely do so. Just click on this ellipse, click on your sort axis, and then you can sort it by anything else. For example, if like you want to do it by category instead of by number. However, something that's really important is if you want to sort it by something, but you don't want that something to show, you can always add it. It's a cheeky little tip. You can always add it to the tooltips. Like if I want to sort it by opponent somehow, see, opponent doesn't show here, but I am able to show it by opponent or sort it by opponent. So that's a pretty cool trick, even though I'm not going to use that right now. All right, so what else are we going to do? We are going to make the width of this axis bigger. So I'm just going to go here to the search bar, go to width, maximum width all the way up, and now we can see all of the text. Then we are going to go back to the data labels and the text. No, is it data labels? It's the y-axis. Let's make it bold. There it is. And now we're going to add some data labels as well. And there we go. Okay, now we have the data labels. We will change the value to be bold. There we go. And now let's change the colors again, right? So jump shots are going to be a bit gray. So let's change the bars and let's go here. We have our jump shot. That's going to be slightly gray. Cool. Now, next is our layup. Our layups are going to be pink. Let's do this. Is that okay? I think it should be okay. It looks like a darker pink though. There. I don't know. Sure. Dunks. Dunks are dark blue. Dark blue dunks. Sounds like a pair of shoes I'll be buying my daughter sometime soon. Hook shots. Hook shots are like, what is that, orange? Salmon? I don't know. We're going to bars. We're going to hook shot. And we'll go to like this. Hopefully that's good. As you can see, you can't really see much there. So I'll show you a neat trick to be able to highlight those a little bit better. All right, we still have dunk. No, dunk we did. Tip shot. Tip shot is yellow. So let's make sure we cover that. That is going to be in the bar section. We'll change tip shot. And so the thing about this is that if you go in and customize these, of course, the user will have a much better experience, but you also have to be cognizant of the fact that any new types of shots, you're going to have to add these yourself. All these colors, you're going to have to change them. So just be, very cognizant of that. So what we're going to do here is actually steal that color yellow. And to do that, we're going to go to markers. We're going to go to tip shot, go to color, and steal this from the more colors. Now we go here, we go back to bars, we go to tip shot, and there it is. Surprise, surprise, it's already there waiting for us. Didn't we have one more? Bank shot. No, bank shot is fine. Did I mislabel something? No, bank shot is the one I want to label. Bank shot's the one I missed. Bank shot should be blue. There it is. Right there. Okay, so now we have all the colors set up correctly. Here we can do sort of jump shots here because we have shots made and shots missed. I don't really want to do that. Let's do number of jump shots. Number jump shots. And what do we want to do? We want to use that as a filter, right? So we have to say shot made flag, remove that, and then go to combine shot type, bring that in instead. And that's the jump shots. And now here, shots missed. Shots missed is going to be, let's change that for what, dunks? Or should we do like number of jump shots and number of other shots? Let's do that instead, where it's not dunk shots, right? So how do we do that? Well, there's a couple different ways, but what we're going to do is clear this filter. We're going to add the combined shot type, and you have a couple ways. If you have just like a few, what you can do is say select all and then remove jump shots, and now you'll have all the rest. Or if you have a lot of different ones and you're just saying, hey, I just want to exclude jump shots, but I don't want to keep clicking on each one, then all you have to do is remove. Let's clear this filter again. I'm going to go to advanced filtering, and then I'm going to switch this to be is not jump shot, and you have to write this exactly as you see it, otherwise it's not going to work. Then I click apply, and now we have non-jump shots. So these two numbers will add up to this one, and here I have to change the title, right? Number other shots. Let's keep consistent and just capital O, capital S. And then here we can say dunk, hook, layup, or we say dunk, layup, etc. Like that. Does that work? Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so that's it. That's it. We're just gonna add a small little title here. KobeBryant shot analysis. Make this bold. Make it size 18 maybe. Whatever fits here. Yeah, that's fine. And then we're gonna remove the background, and we'll make this really small. I don't want it to overpower anything, right? I'll leave you to that, to really get whatever titles and stuff you want in here. I'm just here to give it a small title so that people can know what they're looking at when they look at this report. All right, so I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna paste it everywhere. Paste. Is it better in white? Here I go. No, I'm just gonna keep it like this because your time is important to me. Okay, last thing I want to do is maybe some quick navigation. The cool thing is navigation is really quick. I have 6 pages here in this report, 5 pages really, but I have 5 pages and I want to be able to navigate between them. So what do? I'm going to close these up a little bit, and what I'm going to do is actually just create a navigation bar or a navigation button bar. So I'm in the first page. I'm going to go up here to click on buttons, navigator, and page navigator, and you'll see that it adds a page navigator for me. I don't even have to do anything here. I'm going to make this quite a bit smaller this way and hopefully this way, and what I'm going to do is move it off to the far right. Ooh, that doesn't look good, but I'm going to try to see if I can do it right here. Why? Because I know the rest of these graphs, it's in the same exact position. So let's see if I can just do like a quick decrease in size. And here, selected, decrease it in size as well. By shot made, by shot type. Okay, that's good. And what else do I do? In default, I'm gonna make this like a purple instead, the background. So the fill, when it's default, I'm gonna do, should I do purple or yellow? I'll probably do, by default, I wanna do the yellow, like this. And the border, I wanna do that same color too, so that I can remove the borders. Okay, and then when it's selected, I want to do the purple. So there we are. Is that gonna work? Yeah, I think that's gonna work. And then we just want to make sure we do like a like a rounded corners, so that it looks a little bit nicer. Let's do 10 pixels of rounded corners. I think that's too much, maybe 5. There we are. All right, so let's see. Does this look okay? I'm gonna change the selected shape to also have a rounded or purple border. So here, style, I'm going to say selected, and I'm going to go to the border section and change that border to a purple. That way it looks a little bit nicer. And now, how do I get around? Well, to get around here, first I'm going to make sure that my layering is correct. Okay, page navigator will always show there. That's good. Okay. You can do this at the bottom as well if you feel more comfortable doing it at the bottom. That's probably a little bit better, right? But here at the top is fine. I think we're okay here at the top. So let's try that. Technically speaking, you could have it right here along the left. Should we do that? Let's see. I think we can do that. Here I go messing around with stuff. Okay, I'm gonna bring this out a little bit. Like this. Gonna make this right here and here, and gonna bring this over to the right. Let's just see how one of them looks. If we don't like it, get rid of it, friends. That's how easy it is. Copy this and bring it over here instead, and then we just take this, make it this size instead. And I know you're like, oh, it looks horrible. Well, the cool thing is that you can actually have it be vertical instead of horizontal. I think. Yes, grid layout is the section, and here we're just going to say vertical. I don't know, man. I feel like this is better. I feel like this is better than this. This just kind of looks out of place and it's annoying. Let me know what you think when you watch this video. You know, leave a comment or whatever you feel is the best way to contact me, and just let me know what you came up with, because I am genuinely curious. I just don't know which one looks better, and I don't want to spend any more time wondering. So I'm just going to use this format instead. And here what I'm going to do is shrink the size. There we are. Bring everything over like that. And I'll just do this page by page. There we are. Bring it over. If you want to make sure you're 100% consistent between the pages, just know that you can always get the size of the original, right? So if I want to know what the original size of this one is, I click on it and then I go to format and then I go to general properties and I can see that the width is 139. So did I get it right over here? Let's find out. If I go to general properties, 128. No, it needs to be 139. So now I have it right and I can position it to be correct. And I can just increase the size to match this one. Same over here. There we are. And now I can just paste and bam. And what you see here, when I copied the navigation bar over, you can see that it's purple for the page that's active. And when I copied it, it's now active for by points, which is really convenient. And I'm really glad that they added this feature. All right, so I'm gonna go over here, add this. First, I'm gonna make these all 139 by going to general properties and the width 139. So they all get smushed together there. And now I can put one aligned here, the next one as well. And finally this one, you can see that the label kind of cut off now. So I'm just going to change that a little bit. And I'm just going to say number other shots. I don't have to be specific about the dunk, layup, etc. I can just say number other shots. And then again, the magic of pasting. Bam, now we have the one we need. Here, I can decrease this to 139. 139. Move it all the way to the right. Position this guy as well to be very much smaller. And paste again. Nope, I guess I didn't have the correct thing highlighted, so paste again. And there we are. And same thing for the data grid. Change this to be 139. I'm sure you have a more clever way of doing this. I'm in a nice rhythm right now, so I'm fine with doing it this way. Paste. And now we're in the data grid. Now you'll see raw is here, even though I have it hidden. Now what do? Well, I can just remove it altogether, just delete it and it'll go away. But the way I prefer to do it is actually just go to the settings of this right here. And when I go to the settings, I can see pages. And I can see there's a show area. If I uncheck raw, look what happens. Raw just goes away even though it's still a page. So that's what I'm going to do. Just going to go do that in all of them. And it's better to do this obviously before you copy it everywhere else, but it's a pretty quick step, so I don't really mind. If you want to, you can just say, you know what, I'm just going to copy the one that I have now and delete each one and paste it again. That's absolutely fine too. Delete and paste. And delete and paste. And there we are. We are good to go. Usually I'd put like a subtitle here, like, by shots made or missed. But I think for the context here, we should be able to infer what it is. It's literally my job to make sure that no one has to infer anything. But this is just a demo. So just you keep in mind that it's always best to just do whether or not the shot was made, that sort of thing. Or just to put a subtitle there. Let's just make sure that we at least named our columns correctly before we do anything else. Let's leave the grids and reference all the way to the end. And as you can see here, as I change the order, like if I put credits and reference in the beginning, look what happens to each one of these. So it's a really good tool. I would strongly suggest using the page navigator. It's really fantastic. All right, let's save. And we're going to publish. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to click publish. and I'm going to go to data discoveries, which is the workspace that I use for these data discoveries presentations. So I'm going to go ahead and publish it here. And one of the things I like to do is, again, post these on my website. So when I open this, it's going to post, but then I can't share it with you folks. That's the problem I have, is I can't share it with you. So how do I share it with you? Ooh, did we run into an issue? No, we're good. Let's just browse this and make sure we're good. Make sure everything came through nicely. Yep, it looks like it did. Even the credits page, it looks like there's some scrolling here. We can fix that really quick and push again. Let's try that. Credits and reference here. And just make it bigger. Go back to shot made. By the way, 2 things. When you're publishing, the page you're on is going to be the default page. And if you have the filters pane open, it will deploy with the filters pane open. So always make sure you just close that and then you publish. I don't want to use any logos or anything like that. So that's why I kept it pretty simple, but you're more than welcome to, right? Especially if it's for a portfolio, use all the logos you want, and hopefully you don't try to pass it off as your own logos, because that's when you would probably get in a lot of trouble. Replace, at least give credit to the teams, right? Or the artists. All right, there we go. Now we are good to go. I'm going to go back to the browser here, and I'm going to refresh and make sure it came through. Now, here's what I want to show you. Once we have the report deployed and published out to my site, how do I share it with you folks? Well, all I have to do is go to File up at the top. Then I say Embed Report, Publish to Web Public. You're going to come across a warning that says, hey, when you do this, you're going to be sharing the data with everybody. Please pay attention to that. Please understand that. And it's also going to warn you again, hey, you are about to publish a model that's going to be shared. Just please be cognizant of that. Don't share company data. Don't share personal data to you or to friends or to anyone. If you got the data set on Kaggle, then very much, right? It's public data, so you're good. But if you didn't, please make sure that you have either permission to publish this data set to the world, because anyone can have access to it, or just don't use this feature. I'm gonna click publish here, and now it published it successfully. What I'm gonna do is copy and paste it here to the chat, and we should be able to, there we go. All right, so now it is available for anyone to see. Anyone can click on this. I'm also going to use this to go ahead and publish it on my website, and I'll do that later. But now we have our report. It's here. We have all the data. You can look at it on your phone. You can always start adding slicers and filters to it. Of course, I didn't want to get into the complexities of that. This demo was mainly about how to use the background image to display the data on the court. But if you want to add all sorts of filters to it, please be my guest. Go ahead and add all those filters, add anything else that you want, and send it back to me, because I'm curious to see what you folks were able to come up with. If you have any ideas for future projects or future data sets you want me to take a look at, like baseball strike zone is one that I was thinking of. I saw someone on Reddit do a hockey one, which was absolutely amazing. I didn't want to replicate that one though, because I'm so thrilled with what they did. Baseball, football, and really any other sport you can really represent, as long as you have the data to position the markers, you are good to go. All right, so I'm done babbling. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to let me know. If you want to see other topics, please let me know as well. And I hope this was informational. Again, I will be sharing all of this down here in the video description. You will see the Google Drive link. That'll give you complete access to the PBIX, the data set, and any formulas that I came up with while we were making this project. All right, so thanks a lot. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time.